Welcome back to the best weight loss podcast in the world, where the fat is burning, the wheels are turning, cheating on fat. I am one of your tall, dark, and handsome hosts, the fatty daddy himself, Danny Mabley. And to my right, I also have the Italian stallion, John Arpino.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We got a fun one for you today, folks. Johnny boy, what are we talking about?
Today we're going to be talking about if a GLP1 or bariatric surgery is right for you.
I like it. Yeah, this one we're going to get into, who's it for, who's it not, what is it? Maybe we'll get into a little bit of kind of the what you can expect after starting, or what the first maybe month or two is going to be like. So let's just get into it. Now, if you're new to the podcast, and maybe this is the first episode you're listening to, I'm currently on a GLP-1 in the middle of a weight loss journey.
And I am 9 years out from bariatric surgery.
And you're killing it.
Thank you, and so are you.
Appreciate you, brother. Now, how long have you, what total did you lose and how long have you kept it off?
So I have lost 300 pounds, and I've sustained that weight loss for a little bit over 8 years now. Almost
crazy.
9.
Crazy. I lost 140 at my peak before. This is my second time trying to do this. Not trying, we're doing it.
Are you doing it?
Hell yeah. And that's 140. So you've lost over double. That's why.
I'm also, a lot bigger than you.
Yeah.
Tall,
hey, we're both tall, dark, and handsome. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's
mean?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
It's not supposed to go on the internet. Okay. That I'm 5'10" and you're 6'2".
Well, it's fine. Whoa, brother. 3 inches is a lot.
You're like, I'm a bigger than a starting point guard. Okay.
Fact.
I'm a shooting guard over here. Shooting guard and didn't make the league.
Summer league special.
That's facts. Is there an Italian NBA player?
Yeah, there is. He played for the Knicks. I can't think of his name right now. I'm going to get hated on so hard for that.
Is Dellavedova?
No, he's a white guy. Well, he's Italian.
White guys are Italian, John. Most Italian guys are white. I don't know. John's like, I don't think I'm white. I'm Italian.
I'm Italian. I hit off other and I write Italian.
Yeah, I'm 10% native, and I wish I could put that I was not white. But no, we don't have enough percentage. Let's get it. Let's keep it going. All right. So if you're watching this and you're considering a GLP-1 or bariatric surgery, first off, why? Where are you at in your journey? Why is this kind of popped? Assuming, you've been probably at it for a bit.
Absolutely.
I think that most people don't immediately go like, I'm just going to get the easy, not that is the easy way out, but it's thought of. So that's why our podcast is called Cheating on Fat. Because it's thought of as cheating, it's the easy way out. So, no, but it's typically not that people just go directly for that.
No,
it's very rare.
I think it's a huge common misconception that like you just wake up one day and schedule an appointment for surgery and they're just like, absolutely, let's get that on the books. For me particularly, I tried losing weight for an extremely long time. Like my whole childhood, I was constantly on a diet. I was on Weight Watchers, South Beach diet, Nutrisystem, you name it. If it had a TV commercial, I was probably on it. And it just got to the point where like you're trying everything, you're throwing everything at the wall, nothing's sticking, or maybe you're having a little bit of success for a short amount of time. And then you kind of have to have that discussion with yourself, discussion with your doctors of, what is the next step, right? Because there's just so long that you can keep trying and failing. And then eventually you need a tool. You need another tool in your utility belt that's gonna kind of give you that jump start that you need. For me, obviously, my wake-up call, like we talked about on the previous episode, was, I had this huge near-death experience. I tried to do it the natural route. I had success with the natural route. I lost upwards of 90 pounds in the beginning. But like I said, because of my medical background and the medications that I was on and those side effects, it was really hard to lose the weight and then keep the weight off for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
So for me...
Which is the struggle that most people
Absolutely.
face. A lot of people can lose weight. Like most people can stick to something for a while and lose the weight. It's keeping it off, maintaining that lifestyle. That is the most difficult.
Absolutely. And you and I toss the joke back and forth a lot. Like people on the internet will just say, if you just eat less and move more, you'll have success. And absolutely, right? Like that is the scientific...
It's how it's done.
Yeah, that's how it's done. But there's so many outside things in life that stop that. from happening.
Yeah. And I think when it comes down to it, like there's just too many people with the same story.
Yeah.
Like the way I look at it, like when we talk about people online who are like, everyone, they think of everyone like the same. Everyone's mindset's the same. All it takes is self-control. All it takes is, putting in a little bit of discipline. Sure. Agree with that. That probably works for a lot of people and works for a small amount of people who are dealing with obesity and have been overweight majority of their life. But when it comes down to it, when you look at the statistics and you hear the stories that we see and get DM'd on a daily basis, there's too many freaking similar stories for this simply to be a self-control issue. Right? Like, and most things too is like, if you look at these things, like, it's not that, like, not always, I'm not saying, sometimes it can happen, but a lot of times someone can like be a bigger person and the rest of their life is good.
Yeah.
Like not everyone is this like, oh, I'm like very depressed and down. And that was me when I was younger in life. It's not me this time around. This time around losing weight is very, very different than the time I did before. But if self-control was the thing, it's like, well, why would you be able to apply self-control to almost everywhere else in your life but food? Food always seems to be, for the most part, for certain people, this like one thing that just I feels
think
like it's the...
Not to cut you off, I apologize.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to food, right, like there's so much of a more deeper connection than
societal.
Right. And then just to turn around and tell somebody, but you just need to stay consistent. You just need to do this. You just need to do that. Eliminate this. Stop doing that. We talked about it yesterday, you and I, right? Like off camera. Food is an addiction, right? And when you have that addiction, it's the only addiction that people turn around and say, but you still need to have this every day, 3 times a day in order to live. You know, like you're not giving a crackhead a little bit of crack 3 times a day and getting them through the week. It's just not how that works.
Yeah. And it was funny too. There was a moment where, we were talking about the addiction thing and you were like, well, you're not addicted to the food. You're addicted to how it makes you feel. And I'm like, yeah, how does crack work again, Johnny boy? And you were like, well, they're addicted. Or the way it makes them feel. We laugh for a while.
Huge light bulb moment there.
But the thing is that's a common argument you see online. It's like, well, you're not addicted to the food. You're addicted to like the good foods or the feeling. Like, yeah. Just like drugs and alcohol give you a feeling that you're chasing, a dopamine hit or whatever it is. It's similar. I definitely, we're not doctors. We're not telling you what is and what isn't. We're just here to kind of share our stories and share our opinions. You can take them however you want them.
Absolutely.
But, when it comes down to it, there's something similar to an addiction with food.
Absolutely.
Right?
For sure.
So if you've been at this a long time, at what point should you think about utilizing a tool that has been shown to help a lot of people, which is both of weight loss / bariatric surgery and a GLP1, which is the more modern, way. I think to start off, this is something I get a lot. Which one should you choose? Right?
I think before we even...
I think we have a little bit different opinions on this.
100%. But I think even before we get there, I think we need to also let it be known that both routes, right, are not something that you should take if like you just need to lose 10, 15 pounds to fit into that outfit you want to wear over the summer. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Because both of these things are major life-altering experiences, situations. So obviously, if that's you and you feel like, you're very attracted to, let's just say, the GLP1s because you see people are having fast success with them and you want to just drop a little bit, keep doing what you're doing. I would not recommend sitting down with a doctor and talking about a GLP1. I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, if it's just a little bit of weight that you need to lose, I don't know if I would say
fully agree.
Take it to get over the hump.
Yeah, we start there. We start kind of like a little bit pros and cons of like before even each. So, like we covered, if you've been at this for a while, you're like struggling, you're at a point where you're like, I need to do something, pros and cons. So you want to start with weight loss surgery and then I'll do
sure.
GLP1. So start with the cons. Everyone starts with pros, and obviously this channel isn't about convincing people that this is the route you need to take. So I think starting with, hey, these are the realities of it, I think is a good starting point.
Obviously, one of the biggest cons that you'll hear about weight loss surgery is most of the time you'll end up being deficient in other things after surgery because again, you're taking away more than half of your stomach, so it's harder for your body to absorb the nutrients they need to. So you'll be on a lot of supplements if you're staying on plan and you're following what I like to call the holy Bible of weight loss surgery. you know, you'll be taking a plethora of daily vitamins just to keep your body where it needs to be. So it just runs the right way. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a huge money investment involved, right? Like, I don't want to sugarcoat that. Like, it is not an expensive upkeep.
Is it not something that's covered?
Is what covered?
What's the surgery?
The surgery is covered.
By insurance?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. But I'm saying, like,
Or
after
always
you
or
have
it can be, right? Like, you'd have to kind of
So-
go through a process.
most of the time, I would like to say more than 95% of the time, it's covered by insurance. I mean, it's very rare for me to hear someone say my insurance denied me. Because again, like, you need to be at a certain, you have to fit a certain criteria in order to be eligible for surgery. Not just some Joe Blow off the street could walk in and be like, I think I want a VSG, or I think I want a bypass. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like, I'm just talking about like the post-surgery, once you've already gone through it, just know like there is upkeep when it comes to vitamins, minerals, supplements, stuff like that. So is it a con? I don't know, but it's definitely a investment. Yeah.
And obviously it's, you know, it's a real surgery. Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, there's nothing fake about it. Like you're definitely, you know, they're knocking you out. You're going into an OR, you're waking up. And again, like more than half your stomach is gone at that point. Like,
yeah. So yeah, it is a real surgery. So it's, you know, something, you know, surgeries, obviously there's a lot of they're routine, but with any time you go under, like there's always some sort of risk.
absolutely. What would you say one of the cons is of going on a GLP-1?
I mean, definitely like, so there's two biggest things that I think of is one, that there's a possibility you'll need to be on it for life, right? So whether that be something that, you know, you are currently getting with insurance, or you're paying for it out of pocket, that can all change because regulations are going to be changing crazy in the next 5-10 years, and continue to do so. So right now you could be able to afford it, but then you might not be able to. And if you come off of it, there's a good chance the weight will come back on.
Absolutely.
One of the misconceptions I see is that like, oh, if you come off the medication, even if you're in a caloric deficit, oh, you're still going to gain weight. That is not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. As far as there's no current research to show and anecdotal information to show that that's the case. What most of the time happens, you come off the surgery, your hunger levels can return back to normal. Our hunger levels are one of the things that are most messed up. So then you just fall into those cravings because your body's just like back to normal. Like, hey, let's eat the stuff that we want to eat. Right. So that's one thing. You have to keep in mind that like this is any other diet, any other choice you make with weight loss. It's something that you have to like work at to do your best and set yourself up for the best position to keep it off without the medication. Right. There is a good portion of people who will have to remain on it, right? And then the next thing is the actual side effects from it. So I'm on the off-brand of Mounjaro, which is tirzepatide. The other one, known as Ozempic, is semaglutide. Semaglutide is known to have a bit more side effects than tirzepatide. And the common side effects that most people are going to experience is just like gastrointestinal issues. So diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, heartburn, indigestion, anything Pepto-Bismol label, anything on that. That's what you can possibly expect. Just watch a Pepto-Bismol commercial. It's also a commercial for the possible side effects of a GLP-1.
There you go.
But I have been luckily able to have mine and have very minimal side effects. I actually experienced a little bit of the reflux, acid reflux, heartburn, as well as constipation is one of the ones. You have to for sure like start to like drink more water, fiber, magnesium. You have to start to actually like you said, the upkeep. Like there is upkeep you can do to minimize those. And for the constipation one, it's definitely one thing you want to avoid. And
also to that note, like a lot of those side effects that you just named are also side effects that you can experience when it comes to surgery. Like that definitely goes hand in hand.
And another thing that goes hand in hand, I would say, is like if you overeat, it's not great.
Oh, it's not a fun time.
No,
at all.
It's not like before where like you eat too much, like, oh, I feel a little sick. It's like, oh no, like I feel sick. I'm gonna maybe be sick.
Yeah.
Like
you're in for a rough 2 hours for sure.
It's not great.
And then I don't know about.
I pushed it once and I was like, never again.
Oh really?
Yeah. And the other cons I will say though, and this is very very important, is like there is rare cases, just probably like there is with bariatric, as far as like life altering side effects like pancreatitis.
Oh yeah.
If you have history of thyroid cancer, it potentially can make that faster acting. So these are all things that your doctor or whoever you're getting your medicine through should be checking on with you. If you're getting a GLP-1 from someone who is not asking you these important medical questions, you need to search for something else. I get it's easy to like think, I just need some medication, I'm gonna do whatever I can to get it. We want to still be safe.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Yes, we want to live a healthier life than we are now, but you got to weigh out the potential risks.
Absolutely. I mean,
so make sure that wherever you're getting from it is good, FDA approved facility, and they're asking you the right questions.
Absolutely. And obviously having those follow-up, doctor appointments and checking in with your medical doctor, because the same thing goes with bariatric surgery. A lot of people think you get the surgery and then they just like mama bird throw you out of the nest and you're on your own, when that's really not the case. The center that I had my bariatric surgery with, I had monthly check-ins with my surgical team for the first year and a half, and that was them reaching out to me constantly, and making those appointments. They were very on top of me for that, which I think is awesome because, again, there's a lot of metabolic changes.
Is that
happen.
the same? I don't know if we'll cut this out if it's too soon, but is that the same place that you're currently working on a partnership with?
Yes,
and
it is.
You can say that?
So depending on when this releases, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So I will be announcing that very shortly. And if you're watching this, it's already announced. How you doing?
It's good to know though that they were like taking like good care of you and everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're very on top of that. But I wanted to head back to the cons for a second, right? I don't know if this is true with a GLP-1, but for bariatric surgery, you will also notice, and this is different for everybody across the spectrum, there are different food sensitivities that you can develop after having bariatric surgery. And you see this a lot with if you go the bypass route. It's something called dumping syndrome. Now, there are people who get the sleeve and experience dumping syndrome. I'm not one of them personally, but it's a sugar sensitivity. So even the smallest amount of sugar will have someone either violently throwing up or going to the bathroom for a good 2-3 hours after ingesting that amount of sugar.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to look out for. Another thing to look out for also, foods, proteins in particular, all have different densities, right? So you can develop a sensitivity to, let's say you're a huge steak eater before you had surgery. After surgery, steak might not agree with you anymore because it's a heavier density. It's taking up more volume in the pouch that you now have that was your stomach. So it could ultimately kind of turn you off to your favorite foods in the beginning, but over time that does, get better.
Yeah. I've heard not as much sensitivities. And when we're talking about this, once again, like make sure you do your own research. There's stuff we're probably going to be missing.
Oh yeah.
This is not the end all be all. This is just us sharing our journeys and stories. But I think I've seen people definitely develop like changes in diet preference.
Yeah.
Like they like coffee and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I can't stand coffee, which could not be me. That would be crazy.
Never.
I need my coffee.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
We got coffee before we did this morning. But yeah, so that's something to keep in mind that your preferences could change. I haven't seen that it makes you sick as much as just overeating in general. But like I said, do your own research on that. The one other thing that I know of though is people getting their gallbladder removed with the GLP-1.
The same thing with bariatric surgery.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. There does seem to be a lot of coinciding.
Oh yeah. See, so I think over the course of this series, you're gonna see how closely related the two are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that's a good segue into the next part. Like, I personally, like my personal belief is that GLP-1 should be the first option before surgery. Now I know this is different people are going to have different opinions. I know some people are like, I don't want to ever do a GLP-1. I'm just going to get the surgery.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like there's more research and time, which is true. There is much more like research to show that currently bariatric surgery is for the most part safe and has a lot more time and research behind it. For me, like I have never had a surgery. I've never had an IV. We've talked about this.
Lucky.
Yeah, I've never had an IV. Like I've been very lucky my whole life to have very minimal medical issues or things come up. And so thought of surgery to me is like wild. Yeah. So like to me, it's like, oh, I just inject something in my leg or my stomach. Yeah, sign me up. Like,
absolutely.
I was aware that in 15 years, they could be like, oh yeah, this is actually really bad for people. But where I was at then, like that was worth it to
absolutely.
Me to, potentially, have a change. And that's what I'm having where, almost down 35 pounds now.
But I feel like, you know, the things that the GLP-1 space is experiencing right now is very similar to the bariatric space, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago when it was very new, right? Like you really didn't hear a lot of people having the surgery. And if they were having the surgery, they were keeping it very hush hush. You know, it was very taboo to turn around and say that you had bariatric surgery. And I think that's kind of like where the GLP-1 people are at right now. Like there's definitely some people who are on them that are afraid to admit to everyone else that they are on them. And that's just a confidence thing, I think. And I think that that's something that you kind of grow into, because I remember being that person in the beginning when I was going through the process of having surgery, being like, I don't know if I want to share this with people. You know, I don't know if I want to let people know that I've had this, because I've already been judged for so long based on my weight. And now that I'm doing something about my weight and it's not really traditional in a sense, people are just going to judge me harder, which absolutely at the end of the day, I face that all the time on social media, people judging me, cheating, whatever. But you need to know that like them judging you will never, ever, ever outweigh all the bad shit that comes with being morbidly obese, right?
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. But to your point, I think over time, a GLP-1 will be the entry stage of the bariatric roadmap. That's just how I look at it, you know? So like if you're someone who might need bariatric surgery, but you're in a position where, like you said, you've never had a surgery before, you might be afraid to have a surgery. I think a doctor will turn around to you in the beginning of that process and be like, okay, you're afraid to have surgery. Why don't we put you on an Ozempic, or a tirzepatide or whatever, and let's see how that works for you for the first, 4 to 6 months. We'll come back. We'll see, where your weight loss is at, how much more you really need to go. And then maybe if we have to, talk about going the surgery route, And then I think on the back end of that, I think if you're somebody who is, let's say, 5 years out from having surgery, you've had the surgery, you had success, but now all of a sudden maybe you're not at your optimal goal weight, you still feel like you have more to lose, but you've hit that plateau, you feel like there's no other, pivot that you can make, then I think a bariatric doctor should be the one to say, maybe this might be the right route for you to kind of, I think finishing you off is the word, like a bad way to you took it there. I didn't. He took it there.
Doctor's going to finish you off?
Yeah, he's going to finish me off. That's extra.
What kind of doctor are you going to?
That's not a part of the copay.
What kind of doctor are you going to, my friend? I didn't go to that doctor. As soon as you said it, you looked at me like, don't do it.
Don't do it. I'm trying to be serious.
All right. Anyways, great point. Let's get into the pros. Before we get into the pros, once again, this is not a podcast about convincing you that this is a better option than the natural route. If you can do the natural route, do it.
Absolutely.
We want you to do it.
Yeah.
I would love that. But for the people that are be like, I've tried the natural route, man, for years, and this is what I'm thinking about. That's why I'm here. Let's get into the pros.
Yep.
So for GLP-1, pros are the first initial week that I started it, I just felt like my brain worked like everyone else's that I experienced in my life who didn't have a problem with food. It's like you go out and you'll be with friends and you'll see it. Like, people just stop when they're full and they're not like obsessed over certain foods and they don't think about what the next meal is after they just ate one meal. Right. How many times, this is me for sure. I don't know about you, but like I would really finish lunch and be like, I wonder what am I going to have for dinner?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, so like the food noise that they speak of is a real thing. It really just gets dimmed down, or I keep saying dimmed down. It doesn't sound right, but I know it is.
It's like, all right. I like
dimmed,
it.
It's like little light bulb, little light switch. And that was the first thing I noticed. The second thing was just like, I was trying to eat the same amount of food and I would get full so much faster.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa, okay. And that varies depending on what starting dose you are at, how far along in the week you are before your next dose. Like those things do shift a little bit. Like as you get closer to your injection day, that hunger starts to just speed up a little bit, but it's night and day difference, right? So for me, it was easy just to start making choices. And then also just driving by like fast food and having that like, oh, that my habit is to go in there and get something, or my habit is, we all have our bad eating habits. Those habits just seem to be easier to say no to, right? And so when it comes to weight loss, like that's 90% of the battle, right? So having that aid and that support was like wow, this is like everything I heard online. I was like, can't be this good. And then like the first few weeks, I was like, I'm actually sticking to something for more than 3 days. It's been 2 weeks now. It's been a month. I'm down almost 30 pounds. What is happening?
Right.
You know? And I have not lost weight previous to this time being on a GLP-1 since since I previously lost weight like years ago. Before I lost the weight, we talked about it, I was on Adderall. So I didn't, in my head at the time, didn't think that was really contributing. But as soon as I came off the Adderall, my hunger came back at full force. And I gained a lot of the weight back, also going through some things in life. So this time around, like I just really didn't think I could do it without any sort of help. But I didn't like how Adderall made me feel. GLP-1 gives that similar feeling, but better, but without messing with your brain.
Absolutely.
Right, like a stimulant would. So yeah, it's just night and day difference. And since then, I've just been able to put more effort easier into the planning, the choices that you got to make to lose weight and feel, like you're living a healthier lifestyle.
Absolutely. And to that point, I mean, bariatric surgery does a lot of the same thing. So I know that's like the hot button topic right now with GLP-1s is it cuts out the food noise. The same thing goes with bariatric surgery. Like it totally cuts out the food noise. You almost forget why you were so obsessed about Taco Bell or stuff like that, like I'll never forget, like so in my town where I grew up, it's like fast food lane, right? So it's like a KFC, a Taco Bell, a McDonald's, a Checkers, and a Burger King. Seriously, that's literally the whole row. And I remember driving down that road and normally, like clockwork, I would just pull right into that Taco Bell parking lot. It didn't matter if I had just ate 10 minutes before. Like I'm pulling into that Taco Bell parking lot.
By the way, I'm Canadian, grew up Canadian, now American, but you're American. Taco Bell, not a thing in Canada.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Like we had them,
yeah,
but like no one would go because it was so bad. And so that was interesting coming to America and knowing that like Taco Bell was like a delicacy.
Well, because they put crack in the Taco Bell here. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, I think we have regulations against the crack.
Right, yeah. No.
I think that's why.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to...
No. So yeah, the bariatric surgery definitely cuts out that food noise because I would just drive past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't even like I would look at it. Like I remember like I would be focused on the road and then knowing that the Taco Bell was coming, eyes were just, so it definitely takes away the food noise. Something else too, like when I had bariatric surgery done, I had been on a blood pressure medicine since I was 13 years old, which is not normal. Like I remember going over a friend's house for dinner and having, dinner with his family and his dad, talking to his mom about a certain medication that he was on. And I just quick-witted, just turned around and was like, oh yeah, I'm on that too. And then like really thinking about that situation, I was like, holy cow, like I'm telling a 45-year-old man or however old he was that I'm on the same medication as him for blood pressure. Like that's not normal, right? Like that's not okay. And then within like the first 6 to 8 months after having bariatric surgery, I was taken off that blood pressure medicine. Like it had just fixed the hypertension that I had and everything like that. So I think that is a major pro when it comes to that.
Yeah, I've heard the same with GLP-1. I, weirdly enough, like being as overweight as I've been, the only health marker that I've ever had that's been off was like a little bit high cholesterol. And that's it. Like, so I just haven't been able to see like those big changes as far as medical stuff. Next time I look at my cholesterol, it'll be interesting to see if it's adjusted. But I've heard that with GLP-1, like in reversing some of those health markers and those, even like, insulin resistance, like any diet based illnesses and stuff. It definitely, PCOS, of course, with women, helps with a lot of those things. So what can people expect the first, let's say 90 days? Let's run it down month by month. First 90 days after weight loss surgery. What does that look like? What does that feel like?
It's like, have you ever watched a baby giraffe being born and then trying to walk? It's a lot like that, for sure.
Okay.
It's literally relearning everything that you thought you knew about yourself, everything that you thought you knew about eating, all of that. Because you're in this new body, right? And this new mind, and they're both trying to catch up to each other at the same time. So I remember the first day of me being home after bariatric surgery, I woke up and I wasn't hungry and I was shocked and I didn't know what I was supposed to do with my time because I had woken up and like the first thing I did when I woke up was go grab food, go grab coffee. Like that's a whole routine, right? You have breakfast. I remember sitting there and being like, I'm absolutely not hungry. And if I even look at food, I'm not interested in it. So what am I supposed to do with all this free time now? Like that was a really big hitting point for me. Like I didn't realize up until that moment that a lot of my life was focused around food, but not just food itself, like the eating of the food, but the planning of the food, the going to go get food. How many of my relationships and friendships were just built around going to go get food together, right? Like the first 90 days was literally that. Like, what do I do to fill my time now? You know, and also it's a lot of like testing food because again, like you're on this whole new eating plan the first few months of being out of bariatric surgery. So it's a lot of figuring out what I can eat during like the pureed stage or the soft food stage. Like what is going to taste good? Because again, like my love for food obviously comes down to taste, right? Like I'm not going to eat shit on white bread, you know? So like making different concoctions. Like I don't know if you've ever dived into the bariatric Instagram side of things, but like you should take a you should take a stroll.
VSG fam?
Yeah, fat. There are some interesting concoctions people come up with, but that's because they don't know what they can and can't eat and like what's going to agree with them and what's not going to agree with them. So that's really the first like 3 months.
What about like physically, what can you expect?
Physically, what you can expect is obviously like the random bouts of nausea because you're going to have that. And I know you have that with a GLP-1 sometimes. You're going to experience slight stomach pains for like the first maybe week to 2 weeks. But again, I think a lot of that has changed now. Again, I had surgery 9 years ago. In 9 years, technology changes significantly. But I have to be honest with you too, like when it comes to surgery and pain really comes down to how good your surgeon is. And a lot of people are very surprised to hear that. But if you have a janky surgeon, like you're gonna have pain. And that goes for, you know, excess skin removal, that goes for bariatric surgery, that goes for getting your meniscus repaired, you know? But that's really just the physical element of it is the light amount of pain, and the food options. Like that's really what I specifically remember from like my first 3 months out.
Okay.
Right on.
Yeah. For GLP-1, so you start off at a 2.5 milligram dose, and for the most part, I'd say like, I think that's for most people. And some people I've heard experience like that first inclination that things are working. Some people don't. Like I've seen people be like, I've been on 2.5 for like this first week, first month, and really have felt very little change or no change. For me, I like day 2 almost, I was like noticing how much fuller I felt. So for me, I was trying to extend, because you go up in dosages anywhere from, depending on what GLP-1 you're on, so this will apply differently number wise, but it's basically like from 2.5 to like 10 milligrams is the usual range. Once again, I'm on tirzepatide, could be different for semaglutide, but you'll kind of incrementally dose up, right? Now, some people go right to the biggest dose they can immediately. For me, I wanted to do it as slow as possible. Like I wanted to slowly up the dose as I felt like I needed to, as the hunger maybe started to come back, or I felt like I wasn't, able to stick with it as much, especially the start, right? Like as habits and a year go on or more, like you're going to start to, your body's going to start to get into a routine and build habits. But the start, like you're relying a lot on the medication.
Absolutely.
The goal along the way, and same with weight loss surgery, that we'll hit on a bit more at the end here, but is you want to be building habits, you want to be making better choices. I think we'll probably do a whole episode on like nutrition. Just some basics of nutrition to think about and to things that you want to try to look out for. But starting at that dose, 2.5, you start to feel a little bit. And as you go up, usually it's month by month for most people, you'll start to notice a bit more of that feeling. The thing with increasing the dosage though is the possibility of side effects become more. Right. So that's why for me, I wanted to do it slowly, because I had people say like, hey, you're only at 5 milligrams. Wait till you hit 10. Like now you're gonna start to feel a little off. I was like, oh crap, I don't want to do that. So right now I'm at 7.5. I have no feeling or need to go up. I've been on that for 2 months now. We're coming up on 2 months. The 7.5 milligrams a month, or 7.5 milligrams a week. Once a week, basically you inject. I have seen, I think Zepbound is like a daily injection. I would never want to do that.
Is Zepbound the one that's a daily injection?
There was one that is like a daily,
Yeah.
that I saw. I don't think they're as popular, but they're easier to get when things were tough. And I was like, heck no, dude.
Yeah. That's
before I even started this, I was like, I'm not like a bad needle person, but I'm definitely like, I prefer not, you know? But if I got to do it, I got to do it.
Absolutely.
The first injection took me forever. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
And once I did it, now literally like every week I do it. I'm just like,
you just don't even think about it, right?
Yeah, it's easy. No worries. Once in a while, I'll get one that like, oh, that hurt a little bit more than usual.
Right.
But easy peasy, you know, something you got to do. The injections based on whether you get compounded or you get the actual name brand stuff. One will be something you have to vial up yourself. One will be something that it's just a pen built.
Right, and you just twist, right, or something like that.
It's just built to put the right amount of dose in. So yeah, but you know what you can expect is just noticing those feeling changes, that mindset change of like, oh, I'm feeling a bit fuller faster. I'm not wanting as much food of different types. I'm making better choices, and that'll just kind of continue to increase as you increase your dose. But like I said, try and extend it out as much as possible. And of course, depending on how your body is, you might experience side effects, you might not during that time.
I will say this too. I specifically remember probably like the first 2 months out from surgery, I was highly, highly convinced that my surgeon didn't even perform surgery on me, right? Because when you think bariatric surgery, right, you really think like, oh, I'm going to have this one little crumb and it's going to send me over the top, right? So I remember eating a decent amount of food and looking at my family and bugging out and being like, I shouldn't be able to eat this much. Like, what the hell is going on? And going to my follow-up appointments to the doctor and being like, you didn't perform surgery. I literally had this conversation with my doctor. I was like, you didn't perform surgery. You took the insurance money. Tell me this was all a sham. Like, be honest with me. Because like, I really was of the expectation, like the restriction was going to be absolutely crazy. And it is for some people, right? And this is one of those things, just like weight loss in general, this is not a one size fits all, right? Yeah. So like, just like a GLP-1, someone might have outrageous nausea and another person might not ever experience it at all. Yeah. So
some people might have amazing results and some people might struggle.
Still, absolutely.
You know?
So for me, it was like, I had to ask him, like, why am I not having this like crazy, crazy restriction? Because that's really what I thought all this was about. And he had turned around to me and he was like, hey, John, like, I don't know if you know this or not, but you're a really good looking 6'5" gentleman. So like, because you have
Is that the one that finished you off?
Yeah, he finished me off. Yeah.
So he was like, you're a really nice, good little gentleman.
Yeah. So because you are just this really nice looking man, like,
what a callback.
Right? You naturally like that, right? You naturally are able to take in more than someone else. And like, I didn't think of it that way. You know, like I didn't really realize that because I am a bigger person that I would just naturally need more of an intake to keep this vessel going.
Yeah. You're going to have a higher base metabolic rate than
absolutely,
basal metabolic. I always think because base just makes more sense to me.
Yeah, me too. And basil is something that I put on, pizza.
Italian. Your BMR is definitely going to be higher than just someone who's a smaller person.
Of course.
And that changes as you lose weight too.
I know that now. Back then, I didn't know a calorie from anything, you know?
Yeah. So to go into next, I think it's important that we should just share a few, like, these are things that not that, once again, we're not giving doctor advice, but what we think is important to think about and do. So for me, first thing, like one of the most common things with GLP-1 is you see people who lose a lot of weight, but they also lose a lot of muscle mass.
Correct.
This has been shown in research as well. You counteract that as much as you can. I'm interested to see, because I don't know if the research is showing that like you're still going to lose muscle anyways, or if it's just because people aren't working out and not eating protein. I'm interested to see once I lose all the weight if I'm going to be as fit as I was when I lost it before with just Adderall and diet changes, obviously. It's going to be interesting. But eat adequate protein. Focus on your protein in your veggies or your micronutrient part of your meal first before you go carbs. If you fill up on carbs, you're not going to be able to eat your protein or your veggies,
absolutely,
or your fruit, whatever you're eating. So those are the two things I focus on first in every meal. It's like, am I getting my protein in? And a lot of the times, and you saw this the other day, like I get a sandwich, and I ate like half a sandwich, but then I just ate the meat out of the second half,
right?
Because I know that if I try to eat the rest of it all, it's just not going to work, right? So I'm eating all the meat, getting the protein in first, and focusing on the micronutrients as well, and then just adding in resistance training, weight training, like resistance training, obviously. Properly, if you're going to do it eventually, you want to get into a gym, but even just starting out, doing some home workouts, getting some kettlebells or some bands, just start something is better than nothing, because you want to try and put your body in an optimal position to keep as much muscle and possibly gain it too along the way as you can.
I think I'll be saying this a lot on this show, but like the same goes for bariatric surgery. Like you have to prioritize protein first, right? And your bariatric doctor will tell you that straight up. The first thing on your plate that you should be eating is all of your protein or most of your protein. Then worry about the veggies, because the veggies you can supplement outside of actually eating food. And then last would be the carbs, right?
Which is, sorry to interrupt, which is easy for me, because I don't know if you were like this, but growing up, I was the type of kid that like I ate my meal in like one
that's how I do
at
it
a
too.
time.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So I always used to eat the meat first anyways.
Always.
And then I would eat like rice, and then I would eat veggies. But now I just switch the carb and the veggies, or the fruit and the whatever. You eat the micronutrient first before the carbs, but it's funny, like, you know, the meat first, you know, don't mix them.
No, I don't like my food touching.
But now,
like mixing.
I also love bowls, like bowls of food.
I love bowls.
Like rice bowls,
Yep.
where it's all together. So it's either not together at all or all together.
All together at once. No, I'm the same way. And also, so like the reason for that is, again, it comes down to protein density, right? So like if you're going to have a piece of chicken or a piece of steak, and you're going to have a vegetable and you're going to have a carb, and you go for that carb first, there is no shot in hell you're fitting any of that protein into your stomach afterward, you know, and you're just going to suffer, and you're going to lose muscle mass. So the weight coming off is going to not just be fat, but it's also going to be muscle. So obviously supplementing that protein and getting in that protein the best that you can, you got to focus on that. It's going to keep you fuller longer, you know, because just because you have this restriction doesn't mean you're never going to get hungry again. You will get those hunger signals again down the road. And when that does happen, you have to know, okay, this is what I need to eat first, and this is why I need to eat this first. You know,
100%. Yeah. And then, is there any other tip that you had for weight loss surgery?
Research. A lot of people, you know, they'll just Google bariatric surgeons near me, choose the first one on Google, whatever. I shopped around surgeons because at the end of the day, you're changing your body, right? And if you don't click with the person who is going to be operating on you, I don't think that that's a great match, right? Like if I don't have like how we are, like if I can't joke around with you and we can't have a normal conversation, then I really don't kind of want you in my life. I know that sounds really selfish and weird, but like
no, as you get older, you understand.
Yeah, but the same thing goes with doctors and surgeons. Like if we don't hit it off, like again, I don't want to make this sexual, but I don't want you inside me. Like
you could have just premised that without it. Yeah, I mean it's good point. You know, date your doctor. Date your doctor.
Date your doctor. Yeah, 100%.
Before they get inside you.
Yeah,
you know that's an important thing. We want consent.
Yeah, 100% consent.
We want mutual consent.
Fact.
And to be on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to do your research. Don't just go into this.
You should approach a doctor like that. Like, hey, if you're gonna enter me, okay,
we're dating.
He's gonna be like, or she, like, we're like, what? Excuse me.
Yeah.
That's
you're gonna be fist deep inside me.
Oh my god. This is what you signed up for, just in case you didn't.
There's
know.
no coming back from that. By the way.
Just in case you didn't know, this is what this is about. we're having fun.
Yeah.
This is a good time. You know, this is a couple of boys.
Just the dudes.
For the dudes and dudettes.
Oh yeah, of course.
And everything in between.
Absolutely.
Anyways, yeah, I think the tip that we could say that just goes for both is just, if you don't have any knowledge of nutrition or fitness or health, living a healthier lifestyle, that is being more active, eating less, like eating the right things, those are things that you want to start putting some effort and thought into.
Yeah.
Because it's going to lead you into a place that this isn't just this is what's making the weight loss happen, and as soon as I'm done. You're never done. The journey never stops. It literally, like, it does never stop. Like, do you think about the same things you thought about 5 years ago as today to keep where you're at?
You're saying like the negative things?
No. I'm talking about just like you're putting in the habits
Oh
today.
yeah. I mean, I'm always trying to build better habits for a better tomorrow. You know what I mean?
You've been at it for 9 years.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Because again, the journey doesn't end at all.
It's something that you have to maintain and work at. And so just putting in that effort, making a plan, finding some sort of activity or training or something that you can do on a regular basis that makes you happy, that you have fun with, that helps you burn more calories, that helps you live and use your body in an active way. All those things are things you want to implement, not just for aesthetic reasons, but for health, man. Like, for feeling better, for, being able to do the things you want to do. Like, You'll discover a lot about yourself when you can move and don't experience the same amount of pain that you did before, and you don't experience the same amount of discomfort. You don't experience the same amount of like mental lack of confidence, or those things will all improve if you work at them, if you allow them to be something that you allow your identity to change into. As you lose weight with one of these tools, allow your identity to mold into the different person you want to be, because you're, like we talked about last episode, you're going to want to like revert back to old stuff. Yeah. It's going to feel like that's what you want to do.
I tell people all the time, you're on this journey, you're going to meet 3 versions of yourself: your past self, your current self, and your future self. And you need to be ready,
preach, brother,
to make that introduction to all 3, right? Because if you don't fix your past self, that dude is going to bleed over into your current self, and that's going to bleed over to who you are in the future, right? So I think that, yes, on this show, we're going to obviously talk about what you need to be doing physically, right? And getting in the gym and supplementing that. But you need to fix what's going on up here before we work on what's going on with the rest, right? Because if the lights don't work in the house, then nothing's going to work in the house. You follow what I'm saying? So it's not just as easy as calling a doctor's office and saying, when is your next OR date?
We all have those friends and family members who've done these things and gained it back and didn't change aspects of their life, and not to be judgmental, but just to be aware of, like, that is a very common thing.
Yeah, you don't fix your old habits. Your old habits they're gonna fuck you up in the future.
Yeah. I think that's a good point to finish things off here.
Cool.
That was a fun one.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I feel like as we're doing these episodes, this is episode 1 technically. The other one was episode 0. I think we're getting better and better. We're gonna
hey man, if 1 was this good, I can't wait to see what 2 is like. You know what I'm saying?
Imagine 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks for tuning in. Get out there, make some good habits, change your life.
Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I do want to just ask the people that are watching, if you are someone who's debating between bariatric surgery and a GLP1, if you could leave us in the comments, what are the things that are holding you back from each? Like, what are those mental notes in your head that are kind of like holding you back?
Yeah. And also, like, where are you at in, like we started out with, where are you at in your journey?
Yeah.
Is this something that seems right for you, or are you still, if this is something you watch and you're like, actually, you know what? I think there's some things I haven't tried yet. You got to figure that out. But let us definitely know. Appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, man. Like, share, subscribe. Is that what people say at the end of these things? No, they don't do that anymore?
Nope.
Oh, I'm a loser? Yeah?
No, you can do whatever you want to do.
No, I mean, I don't care. I don't know how we're going to end the show.
If the product was good, do what you want to do. Share it with your friends.
I really feel like we need to figure out like
an outro to
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll figure it out eventually.
Absolutely. But leave this part in right now.
We got the intros.
The intro is fire.
The intro's starting to cook, baby. We're cooking.
Yeah.
But
we just need the dessert to be the same at the end.
I don't even remember what I said last time in the intro. And now people are here like, hey, end the freaking pot. All right. Tune in next time. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Deuces.